Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today I'm proud to present the next revolution in flight sim GPS simulation to you as an exclusive preview. You all know the TDS GTNXI and it's just gotten better. Now, just in case you're not familiar with the TDS product yet, TDS basically programmed a link to make the real-world Garmin trainers work in our beloved simulator. About a year ago, they released the TDS GTNXI Pro upgrade, which introduced the long-awaited Navigraph support, bringing the ability to update both the nav database as well as to integrate the Navigraph charts into the Garmin trainers. Today, they released the next step and the next long-awaited feature, CrossFill. This allows you to send information from one unit to the other, and with CrossFill active, they're basically going to update one another automatically. But we'll talk a little bit more about the CrossFill as soon as we get this flying. Now, exclusively for Flight Simulator 2024, and thanks to the help of the user MarkFSX, they are the very first company in flight simulation to use the new sim attachment feature to bring their avionics into the default flight simulator aircraft and change their avionics suits. Now, this update comes totally for free for all owners of the GTNXI Pro, which, if you don't have it yet, you can get over at tdssim.com. Owners of the earlier iteration of the product qualify for a huge discount, but again, everybody who already owns the Pro Edition, which came out in February 2024, will receive the new upgrade for free. So let's have a look at the new units in action. We're standing at Kiwi Flight Sim's brand new Manua Islands in American Samoa, which is just a beautiful environment for VFR adventures. Thank you very much to Kiwi Flight Sim for providing me the opportunity to feature your airports in today's flight. Check them out on flightsim.to and don't forget to download the free watermask add-on for the Manua Islands to make them look just that bit better. So as mentioned, the TDS GTNXI Pro has not only received the ability to crossfill between the two different units, but if you're on FS24, you can also integrate them into the cockpit of many default aircraft. This is only possible in FS24 thanks to the sim-exclusive sim attachment feature, which is part of the FS24 SDK. So if you're on FS2020, you can still use the crossfill, but you can't integrate the units into your default aircraft. Now, in order to do this, just download the mods for each individual aircraft from the TDS website, extract them into your community folder, and then you will get the new avionics suit into your aircraft. If you want to remove them again for whatever reason, just remove them from the community folder and that's it. Now, our airplane for today will be the default Cessna 172, and we'll take it for a quick spin around the Manua Islands, enjoying some of their beautiful nature while taking a look at our brand new avionics. The airplane just came out of the hangar and had its GNS 530 and 430 units removed and replaced with our brand new units. So let's go ahead and get flying. We are going to remove the covers over here, and lastly also down here. And then I suggest we are going to open this one up and head inside. And you can immediately see that our cockpit looks a little bit different than the default Cessna, in that we do have two lovely brand new units in here, the GTN 750 and the GTN 650. On top of that, we have only one other add-on installed in this Cessna, which is the Navigraph chart plugin for the default FS24 EFB. So we do have our en route map available over here. Now, let's go ahead and take our airplane flying. I am somewhat going to commit a sin here by disregarding a lot of the Cessna procedures and just simply bumping it up because, well, I do want to get you to go showing you the brand new aircraft features. So let's just power it up real quick and our units are coming to life. So license 2, my old username, wow, that's been a long time ago. And here we go, we can see that we do have the Garmin trainer in the software version 20.42.2, fitted with the Navigraph database for the IRAC and Navigraph charts as well. you will notice that when we hit the continue button up here on the top unit, the lower unit is automatically going to respond, and that's because the two are linked to one another using the CrossFill
system
feature.
test OK.
Now, if you want to turn CrossFill off for whatever reason, you can do that by going to System and then Setup, and down here you got the button to turn them off so that you can use both units independently of one another. But let's not get too much into that. We are glad that we have it, and we don't immediately want to get rid of it. So let's go ahead and program a flight plan, and I'm going to do that on the top unit here. It's automatically loading up our current location, NSAS, OFU, and we can just add a new airport, and that's going to be NSFQ. You can see it already has that in the fast find at Fitiuta Airport. And now, if we have a look at the lower unit, you can see that it's automatically loaded that into my flight plan already. So let's go ahead and go flying, and en route I'm going to show you a couple of the very nice features, and I will also explain to you how we would normally use these units in a practical sense. Now let's quickly adjust the pressure down here, set 1,000 foot on the autopilot panel, and then the taxi light can come on, we can release the brake, and off we go. So, brakes released, let's get rolling. It's rather hot outside here, so don't be surprised if our airplane is a little slow to react today. 28 degrees outside, beautiful tropical weather conditions in an absolutely beautiful environment in the Manua Islands. Again, the scenery doesn't even cost $10, it's really worth it just for having those airports in those absolutely splendid locations over here. Well, let's go ahead and line ourselves up. Look at this. Just fantastic, isn't it? Alright, and here we are, lined up on runway 26. Cool, so let's go ahead and turn on all of those lights down here. Nav light, strobe light, and the fuel pump. And that's it, wonderful. Cool, so we are not going to need the flaps. Should be fine without them. Then let's go, take off. So, thrust set. And it doesn't achieve too many RPMs, I have to admit that. Speed alive. And rotate. So, positive climb. Guys, don't try to raise the gear, okay? If you manage to raise the landing gear in Cessna 172, you will probably have to talk to someone who is not going to be very happy. Just a gentle reminder. So, fantastic view out there, isn't it? Alright then. So, getting up into the air, the Manua Islands are known for a really beautiful bridge that you can find connecting the island that we just departed from with the other island that we see just in front of us. Now, I took the liberty to create a custom waypoint at that bridge so that we can easily find it in case we didn't know where to look for it. And that custom waypoint is located just over here. And guess what? I called it bridge. Now, that's a pilot created waypoint, so it should only be available on that unit, right? Well, let's find out. Let's just hit direct to bridge, activate. You can see that the lower unit also knows about that, and that's because our CrossFill doesn't only know about the flight plan as many users seem to assume, but also knows about a lot of other information such as pilot created custom waypoints and so on. So all of that kind of data is transmitted between the two units as well. Now let's go ahead and level off over here. We are going to put the airplane on autopilot here in a moment so that we can look out. So autopilot on, nav mode on, altitude mode on, and here we go. So enjoy these wonderful looks outside of the Manhua Islands. Now let's turn a couple of degrees to the side here as we're heading towards
Terrain
that
ahead.
bridge.
Terrain
and
ahead.
You can see that our GTNs, of course, do recognize that we are just heading straight towards that mountain.
Terrain
over there.
ahead. Pull
And
up.
you can see that they are going
Terrain
to warn us
ahead.
about it.
Pull up.
Now, if I hit the inhibit button over here, you can see it automatically inhibits it on both units. Therefore, the CrossFill also affects things such as the TORS system.
500.
So, again, some really cool stuff that's going on over there. And some really cool stuff that's going on down here, just to mention that. Beautiful scenery, isn't it? Now let's turn another couple of degrees to the right over here to avoid that
500.
second mountain as well. The 500 call, by the way, is generated from the GPS as well. And now that we are getting clear of those mountains, let's go ahead and activate the original flight plan again. That's going to lead us towards our destination. Something you'll notice is when I activate it down here, you can immediately see it reappear on the top screen as well. So let's just put it back in a nav mode, and that way we are automatically going to fly back towards our original route. Likewise, if you wanted to just give yourself a direct, do that down here. Take Vituta, hit direct, hit activate, and here you go. Now you have a direct routing to your destination airport. Pretty easy going and pretty useful stuff. Now, I promised you on the ground that we would take a moment to talk about the different use cases or the different way of using the two units with CrossFill. Now, back in the days in my flight school, we used two of the Garmin GPS units as well, stacked on top of one another. Now, for the majority of cases of the flight, I would be using the map on the top one and then the flight plan on the bottom one. Therefore, basically giving me an overview in a very similar way of how you have it in an airliner with the nav display at the top and then the flight plan at the bottom. The big advantage of having the flight plan down here is that you can get information such as altitude constraints, distances, and estimated times en route, and therefore have the data fields on the top available for totally different things. In case you don't know it, you can change all those data fields, for example by going on a menu, and then you can hit change user fields, and then by clicking onto any of those fields you can actually change them around the way you like them. For example, you can use distance to destination if you want to know how many miles you've got to fly to your destination airport, or whatever suits you best. What's also really nice is to use the charts on the top one. So going to charts over here, of course we will not have any for Vituta, which is, you know, looking at the airport info, a very, very small airport. But if you're looking at an airport that actually has charts available, so for example we can have a look at the capital over here, which is going to be MSFA, so Faleolo, then you can immediately get to see the charts up here. You could just use the charts on the top unit while programming the flight plan or cross-checking the flight plan in the bottom unit. So that would be a typical use case as well. Likewise, you can use the charts on the top unit to monitor your flight's progress, and then use the either default navigation screen down here to follow your flight's progress, or you could just make your life even easier and go to the map down here to have your mini MD down here while having the charts available on the top. So that's a very useful feature for your GTNs, and that would be a typical use case for your GTNs on a flight like this. Now, let's go ahead and start setting ourselves up for the approach. Right now, well, lots of water over here, and Flying over lots of water can make it a little bit difficult to judge a proper visual approach, because you just don't have that many points available that would give you some good reference, especially when the water is calm and there are no waves and there is almost no wind. It may just completely make it impossible to judge your height. Luckily though, we can cheat a little bit. So yes, I do admit it, I am a cheater and I am using as much technology as is available. So let's prepare our GTNs for a visual approach. So we just hit the visual button down here. It's going to be a visual into runway 12. We can see that this is for visual approaches only. Guidance is advisory and may not provide adequate clearance from terrain or obstacles, and it has no vertical guidance. Alright, activate that. Now we got the 3 nautical mile point over here, so how about we just proceed there directly. So let's fly to the 3 mile point. And this is going to lead us straight into the approach. I really love this. Now let's quickly set our radios up as well. Here we go. And now we have some pretty useful information. So now we basically get a localizer alike guidance up here on our VOR indicator, and we're basically heading directly to a 3 mile final. And 3 miles, 1,000 feet, that works pretty well. So when we start our descent over there, we are going to get a very nice profile. We can follow the progress on the bottom over here, where you can see 1,118 feet would be the standard altitude for our 3 nautical mile visual point. And from there we are just going to follow a standard vertical profile on our way down. So that's just some pretty cool stuff that the GTNs can do, which is just one of the many features that they have available for pilots in order to make your flying the most effective and the most efficient. Now let's have a look outside. We can slowly see our airport coming aside over here. As mentioned, unfortunately we do not have any taxi charts or anything available for this because, well, very small airport. So you can see Navigraph en route charts don't have anything for us over here, which is a little bit unfortunate, but then again, we are not here for complete glass flying, right? That's what we've got our GPSs for. So, 1 mile to run to our final approach point, and from there we are going to start our descent. We can use the nav mode of the autopilot to fly ourselves completely onto the final. We can see that they are in visual approach mode down here. And that way all we gotta do is to time our descent, and then we've basically done more or less an on-off approach, but in a visual fashion. I like this. I really like this. So there's our runway in sight down there. Let's go ahead and disconnect the autopilot and have at least a little bit of fun. It looks like we overshot a little bit, but that's totally fine. We can always correct ourselves for that. Very interesting control movement that we see down here. Okay, now it solved itself. Looks like disabling the autopilot using the button down here doesn't work entirely perfectly. Should have used the disconnect button on the yoke. Flight Sim 2024. Alright, so 1.7 nautical miles to run, 700 feet, looks pretty fine.
500.
Checked. Note how we hear only a single 500 call and not that kinda dual 500-ish that we had previously, when we had 2 GPS units independent of one another. that both try to do the call. So a little bit of wind from the left over here. Let's extend the flaps. Flaps 10. Flaps 20 and flaps 30. I am intentionally flying a little bit above the optimal glide slope over here. That's because I do want to avoid gliding right into the ground in case of an engine failure. But now let's aim right for the numbers. And here we go. That's how I like my short field landings. Well, my friends, and that's it for today's video. I do hope you all found this one interesting. Leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. Let me know if you like the new CrossFill update and the new integration into FS 2024's default aircraft. I surely do. I was really happy when Tiberio approached me about this update and if I wanted to do this video. I absolutely loved what I saw over here and loved the ability to do this, and it's just great to see that once again simulation technology is advancing into the right direction. So my friends, with all of that out of the way, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to TDS Sim and to Keepy Flight Sim for providing me with the software you guys have seen in today's video. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video, and with that out of the way, thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one. In the meantime, like, comment and subscribe, and with that, I see you all again on the next one.